One of the processes that we have with cannabis today, which is really interesting, was that it's not the same plant it was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So you can't get, I saw this from an officer, and if any guys are listening out there with regard to the law enforcement side of it, too much THC is a bad thing because it makes you feel paranoid. So you can't,
THC makes you feel paranoid?
THC, too much THC in cannabis will make you paranoid.
Okay.
So what I see is, everybody's worried about this THC and we're going to breed these things to be like, more THC. That's not the idea. Because who wants to sit around and think, oh God, am I getting busted here in a second? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Somebody looking at me? Oh man. So you're not going to, when I see officers talk about, it's just me, they're growing in this grow house over here and it's 40 times stronger. That's a false statement. They put this again in the wrong light. That's not how this works. When you start looking at, when I talk to some of the geneticists, understanding, I'm thinking like these guys are working under a magnifying glass and they're, pulling out the chromosomes and the seed and they're genetically putting them together. When the fact is, when I ask the guys, how do you do that, man? He goes, here's what we do. He goes, I take 100 seeds, I plant them. Out of the 100 plants, one of them's different. I want to understand why that one's different and what are the characteristics. So I pull that plant in and start looking at what goes on, and all of a sudden I find out that it has a different color or a different CBD, or it's maybe it is a little stronger. And we want to use this for a different process. Because that's how we do this. There's no gene splicing. It's not genetically done. Obviously, if you grow it indoors, you get 4 great grows a year. It's the perfect weather every day. You can control bugs. But it's not full spectrum. The plants that grow outside are full spectrum sun. So you're getting every bit of that full radiation of the sun every single day. So there's people that will say, that's because it's grown indoors. It's not quite as good as the outdoor stuff.
And what do you define as good? Meaning, does good mean higher THC?
Not necessarily higher THC, greater looking plant, maybe a bigger plant, yields more product. Some of the funny attributes about cannabis is as it gets stale, and cannabis does get stale, it gets very, very high in CBD.
Yeah.
As it gets higher in CBD and it gets more stale, it makes you want to go to sleep.
Okay.
So there's different ways you can bring this to the market with regards to how you want to show the cannabis itself. It's all pretty much the same. You've got sativa and you've got indica.
Yeah.
People talk about hybrids or what they're doing. I'm not really sure in the bigger picture how that all works, but when you kind of look at it, it all looks the same. The way they trim the buds up is pretty much the same. The way they process it is pretty much the same. Everybody tries to come up with a different branding perspective. As an example, one of the guys that we work with, one of the vets groups, wanted to private label some cannabis. And so we were looking at trying to figure out a great name for this. And so as we're sitting around kind of brainstorming, hey, what would be a good name for this? One of the guys came back in and said, hey, I just got through walking my dog, and it took me from the time I left the house to walk the dog, I smoked 1 joint. So we came up with dog walkers.
Nice.
And so all of a sudden, dude, now it's a veteran-owned process. We call them dog walkers. They come in a little case.
So, the little tin with the little joints in it?
Bingo.
Okay.
You saw them.
Yeah.
You saw them.
Oh, yeah. Those things are awesome.
And they're called dog walkers.
I love those things.
And what a simple name. And it has taken off like you can't believe. And it's a standard sativa. Sativa's kind of up. You want to be on the high side of it. The indica kind of helps you go to sleep at night. And so I see that when these guys participate and they take the sativa, obviously they're much more happier, much more content.
Right. Helps me focus.
It's funny when you talk to different people about different ways that it affects them. It's amazing across the board.
Yeah.
Obviously, for the vet side of it, most of these guys do it to treat themselves at night before they go to sleep. But I always hear about the great sleep that they get. So I always encourage them, get the indica.
Yeah.
Keep getting the indica. Go that route.
Right. Yeah.
So and it works out nice.
That's amazing.